Our art is our story. Art is not a decoration on a wall, it's not a pretty picture, it's our story. And the best way to document our stories is through art. Because it's not intimidating, it's not telling you what to think or how to think, it's not indoctrinating. It's learning by experiencing it visually.
I found this to be very interesting because it had a very strong philosophical, spiritual, and academic understanding of what it means to be an artist, what role an artist is supposed to play and within culture in terms of documenting history, in terms of humanizing people, and sort of working to create a sense of community and shared history amongst not just specific groups of people, but humanity writ large. I felt like the central artist was incredibly insightful and forthright in terms of how you explain that kind of dynamic and sort of the burden he felt and the responsibility he felt in sort of creating this mural and having it be more than just something pretty to look at, but something that sort of really reflects the story and the history of the Filipino people, not just in that location, but back home and in terms of humanity and culture at an international scale. And I thought that even though he was working at that level, it was a very grounded and compassionate and human deconstruction of sort of what it means not only to be the artist, but to be part of a community outside of when you're an artist and just participating in that community and what you have to do to take that experience and turn it into something that is accessible and relatable to people that did not also grow up that way. So I felt like the piece was very well done. The art was obviously very beautiful, and there was numerous pieces that were quite striking to watch. And in general, the subject of the piece was incredibly thoughtful, and I thought accessible, and allowed for the piece to have a very human and grounded dynamic that made it very relatable.
Eliseo's passion really came through in this documentary while he's talking about his love and need to educate people on Filipino history. You could really feel the passion in his voice, and also the way that other people talked about him. You could really tell his drive and his influence on these murals and these people, and how he's helped to bring this history to Filipino Americans in Seattle. I thought that the visual of the mural being used throughout was really helpful, just to see what they were talking about. And it really sparked my interest in Filipino history as well, especially since these things aren't as much talked about in public schools. Usually it's just very European-centric history that we learn. So this documentary especially sparked my interest as well. I liked how this documentary spoke to many different people in the community, and we heard from a lot of them how this impacts them and how this has helped them learn about the history and culture that they may have not learned about in school as well.
Concept behind it was so beautiful and so touching to try and tell a story, a community story, a history through art, and using that to try and connect multiple generations and connect back to the community, and not, only generations, but in a community in general, and to have, different sections of the mural that honored or told different specific stories. I thought was so beautiful and so moving, and to really have it be something that the older generation could look at a mural dedicated to a specific, you know, chapter of their history, of their culture, and be able to tell stories about, what that reminded them of growing up, or, of different stories they either were a part of or had heard, and, using that as, a jumping off point to encourage community and encourage conversation and encourage history being talked at and talked about and told, and not just as a these are historical facts, but also as this is my memories, this is my experience having lived through this, or the stories that I heard growing up about this time. And I think that that's just such a lovely idea.
They showcase beautiful murals from a very gifted artist, Eliseo, and this is a depiction of how a man can absolutely make a difference through positive action. They show inclusive activities, how these help grow and sustain a community tight and together and supporting each other in this pursuit of preserving or the preservation of their history, their heritage, learning about their heroes and how and all their accomplishments as an immigrant community in the US, to teach this to younger generations to be proud of themselves and keep it up. I mean, this was amazing. These murals are absolutely delightful.
There's a connection there between history and art of this culture. He's constantly talking about in the different stages of the mural or different stages of the history that they're going through, and the one lady is saying, well, as time has gone on, I've seen him become such a historian and become an expert in Filipino history as well as Filipino-American history. So I heard a quote once. It said, it's impossible for art not to be connected to what's going on in the world, something like that. And, this definitely proves that out for sure. And it's wonderful to see the pride and the enthusiasm and the joy that everybody has in this community center and working on this painting. So wonderfully done piece, man. It was just really enjoyable.
Our full humanity is engaged as they're creating this work of art. And then it's on a building where it's going to be seen and go down in history itself. But I love that it's a community and that the people that are creating this artwork are building a community within themselves, but then also connecting, the young humans with the older humans and just working together and it being generational. I really feel like the whole idea of this was to show how you can build community and really learn about your own, history and generational history as well. And I think it showed how important that is in connecting people in the generations.